Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel for a brand new video on DiRT 2.0. I know it's been quite a lot of months since the last time I played this game, but behind the scenes I've been playing quite a lot, and I've been getting back into it because I've been getting ready for the upcoming DLC that has been released back in March 24th of March, something like that. It's the Colin McRae DLC, which includes two cars and one new rally location, which is Scotland, and also the new scenario mode, which is something amazing to have in this game. We might not have Pikes Peak and all that, but we have this, the Colin McRae scenario modes. So celebrate the career of a rally legend. This has I think it has 40 scenario challenges and 4 parts of his career, starting from the bottom where he started his career in a Mini, moving up to his final rallies with the Subaru team or the Ford team. Pretty much his career and his most important and fastest moments, I would say, like wins, scenarios where he had a damaged car and he made it, you know, some very cool scenarios. I'm gonna leave it on 90 difficulty. It's the highest it can go on the hard section. After that, on 91, it is the very hard level, and I feel like I'm not really good for very hard difficulty, but I think I can do this on hard difficulty. If I can't, then I'm gonna lower the difficulty, and I don't think I'm gonna put more difficulty on these challenges. I just really want to have fun, and for the time being I feel like 90 difficulty is gonna push me to the limits. As you can see, it's got from 1984 to 2006, where he actually passed away, unluckily, with a helicopter crash. Rest in peace to Colin McRae, obviously a legend of the sport. So we're going to be going to the first section, the early
McRae
years.
is one of the most iconic names in rallying, as well as being one of the greatest Scottish sportsmen in history. He began behind the wheel of a Mini Cooper S at the age of just 16, accelerating through the early years of his career before taking control of vehicles such as the Peugeot 205 GTI and Ford Sierra RS Cosworth, achieving success in multiple events. Even though still considered a rookie, Colin held his own against higher-powered competition and gave a glimpse of what would become his trademark style of driving to the absolute limit.
So 1984 to 1989, Colin McRae started his career from the age of 16. Pretty incredible to say the least, with a Mini Cooper, which we're going to be driving here around Scotland, which is the new rally location from this DLC. Colin McRae started out with humble beginnings, driving the Mini Cooper S as a junior at local auto tests. This car was quick and nimble, and Colin's performances marked the beginning of an iconic journey. That's pretty much the historic info for this first event. We're going to be driving the Mini Cooper, which was the first car that Colin McRae ever drove. For anyone wondering how can I get that DLC, if you've ever bought Season 1 or Season 2 or Season 3 or Season 4, pretty much you were a season owner at least once, then you already have this DLC on your game. You just need to update it. Otherwise you can buy this as a separate DLC. I know it sucks that it has to happen like that and you have to buy it either way, but I think at the end of this episode I'm gonna be honest with you and I'm gonna tell you if it is worthy or not. For the time being, this Mini Cooper, I've never driven it before. I've only driven the Lancia Fulvia. I don't intend to drive these cars a lot, but so far it handles pretty well. It's a pretty slow car, so it's a very nice car to start off. The scenario mode, get used into the game once again. I'm currently faster only by 2/10 into that second sector. As for the Scotland location, so far it seems like a very interesting rally. It seems like I'm driving in Wales, or it seems like Wales, with some very fast corners, some mid-speed corners here and there. I've opened up quite a bit of a gap into the third sector, and now we're on to the final one. Probably gonna succeed on this one. The objective was to finish the stage without terminal damage, so it doesn't really matter if I finish first or second. It's just all about the damage, so yeah, that's all about it. Doesn't mean that I don't want to finish first, obviously. I'm gonna try and push to the limits in every single stage and achieve the best possible result. At the same time, we need to just complete the objectives in order to move on to this scenario mode. Career mode, does it say? Scenario mode, flat out DLC thing.
Double crest, 50. 3 right, tightens of a crest. 50. 4 left long. 120 over bumps. 6 right, tightens of a finish. 120.
Across the finish line, we're going to be winning this stage without any damage. A 6.9 second gap. Good return to the game, if I'm being honest. 90 difficulty, don't forget that. A lot of people have said the difficulty is quite tough on this scenario modes, but I'm gonna be honest with you and tell you as we move on. For the time being, this was my second try on this one, and it ended up being pretty easy on the second try as I've learned the stage and the car a little bit more. Overall, we didn't really win the rally, but we achieved the objectives. The objective was to finish this stage without suffering terminal damage, and just like that, we've completed the first sort of scenario of this sector of his career. Moving on to the next event, we're going to be driving the Ford Sierra Cosworth, which has 310 horsepower, and it's a rear-wheel drive car. So that car is probably going to be a bit of a mess to handle. Rear-wheel drive and pretty fast, to be honest. And as you're going to see very, very soon, I've made plenty of mistakes. Some were a little bit silly, others were more serious. There's not a serious or a silly mistake, it's all about like concentrating there. I lost the back end completely, hit the sign, and yeah, we just pretty much went off. But this one, which was my third try overall, was a very, very good run. So you can see it took me plenty of tries to actually master those stages and those objectives, because if I had this on like 70 difficulty, it would have been much easier for me to do those first try. But I wanted to put a little bit of a challenge to myself as I was coming back to the game. Like, I wanted this to be a little bit tough so that I can get better to the game again. And I feel like that was a good way to enjoy to the fullest these scenario modes. So yeah, this is my best round. I'm gonna let you enjoy for a little bit of my driving or the sound engine, because the engine sounds on this game are just truly amazing.
Tightens into 5 left, opens middle of a crest, 60, 6 went long, tightens shot 3, into 3.
That was just a very awkward moment. But thank God we got it back to the track. And we were only 21 thousandths of a second slower than first position. I don't really remember the objective, but I'm telling you, we're going to make it on this one.
6 left, opens 60, turn 3 left, don't cut, and keep middle of it on crest, into 4 right, 70, flat left, an unseen 5 right, extra long of a small crest, 40, 6 left, tighten shot, 5 over bump, 40, 3 right, open 6, extra long of a bumpy crest, a caution, keep right of a crest, jump, into 4 left long, tighten shot, 3, and 3 right of a crest, 40, 3 left, very long, tightens past lane, and shot 4 right, into 6 left of a bump, to keep right of a bumpy 100, keep middle of a jump maybe, into 6 right of a bump, tightens to 4 left of a small crest, 50, 3 right, 40, right of a crest, tightens 2, opens 6 right.
And right on the far corner we make that slight mistake. Thank God there were the signs there to stop me, to prevent me from losing out on this stage. We had a pretty safe gap, but on that final sector I lost plenty of time, and we only won this stage by 1.3 seconds, but it's still a win. You could see there in the forest where we were going flat out. This was absolutely amazing. I feel like they've put a lot into this scenario so that you actually indeed go when in doubt flat out, because that's the whole point of Colin McRae. That's his quote pretty much. I feel like they've achieved that with those scenario modes, because you need to go very, very fast and flat out throughout some sections in order to win. The target was to finish first place on this one, and we made it. So next up we had a very difficult challenge. Colin McRae retired from this event due to a damaged engine mount. He was not alone in his misfortune with this 1988 rally, claiming many retirements due to car failures. So apparently we have to achieve something with a damaged engine mount on the Peugeot 205 GTI. This car is a little bit slower. It has 175 brake horsepower, but this time it is a front wheel drive, so it's probably going to be much easier to drive. But I've had one issue in this challenge, and that issue was onto that final corner, that second gear final corner. I always carried a lot more speed than I needed to, and I understeered on that corner. That's probably one of the reasons it took me plenty of tries to succeed on this one, and it was a very tough one. It was a very tough one indeed, because I had to do a very good time, and the AR was very hard on this one. Here, once again, you can see understeered a lot. We were equal with a class leader, and then on that final corner, he probably gained around like 2 seconds or something. It was crazy how much time I was losing on that final corner. So another failure there. 2.9 seconds. The gap was getting smaller and smaller. I would find like places where I could go a little bit more flat out, where I could go flat out. Like that's pretty much the secret. Try and go flat out anywhere you can, where you can see that the car can actually hold on and you can go flat out. Just try it and go flat out. This is my best effort, and it was my third try once again. And yeah, I feel like my driving was pretty much almost perfect on this one. I still had a red sector, but it didn't really matter at the end of the day.
Into 4 left long, opens over 60. Into 6 left over crest, 2 right tightens, don't cut. Into 3 left long. Into 4 right over crest, bump. And keep left over crest, jump. Into 4 right, 60. 5 left long, tightens 3. To keep right over jump, into 3 left long, opens over crest, and keep right, into 4 left over crest, 30 over bumps, 4 left long, cut, into 6 right, and 6 left through narrow gate, 30, 4 left over crest, into 4 right, tightens over crest and through gate, 5 left over crest, into 5 right over jump, into 3 left long, 30, 4 left long over crest, into 5 right over crest, into 4 left, into 4
It's all about finding the braking zones, turning slightly earlier, pay attention to the notes, and go as much as you can flat out through those straights and some corners. As you can see, this was a very good sector for me. I gained plenty of time. Previous one was a red one, but still I had a 1.6 second gap. This was my first time being ahead of the class leader for so long. A slight mistake here is going to cost us some time, but not too much. And here is the final sector, the slow section, with a few square corners and a few hairpins. Well, as you can see, the class leader is already very close to me. I didn't like these hairpins at all on those weather conditions. And then we came across that second gear corner. I feel like, even though it still wasn't perfect, it was the best I could do around this corner. The class leader still gained time on me on that final corner, but at the end of the day, it didn't really matter, because we were going to be ahead of Edwards finally. And this time by 1.9 seconds. Still, the final sector wasn't my strongest one, but it didn't matter, because we did very well on the first, second and third one overall to succeed and achieve the objective for this scenario. And yeah, it was a pretty decent one. Overall in the rally we won, and I feel like the objective was to win. Yeah, maintain your current position and finish in the top 5 with a damaged engine mount. So you had to pretty much finish first in order to achieve this event, otherwise you couldn't do it. And this car was pretty easy to handle, but on the slow corners it was pretty much of a mess for some weird reason. I don't really know why. As for this one of Colin's first international rallies took place in Sweden with the snow-covered roads, testing the skills and tenacity of all of the drivers. Colin managed a top 15 result, which was impressive considering the harsh conditions. So we're driving the Ford Sierra RS car was around Sweden. I really like this car. It's a very tough car to drive because it's fast and it's rear wheel drive. I wonder how it's gonna do around snow, because in general snowy conditions and fast cars, especially rear wheel drive ones, do not really go together. It's a bit of a hard. You're gonna have a hard time if you put a rear wheel drive car in snow, especially on the low gears like second and third. I touched the snow back there, but we're still doing well. So yeah, let's see how we can do here in the snow. It already likes to slide a lot. It's a slidey boy.
Into 3 left over crest, into 5 right, into 3 left tightens, into turn 3 right, tightens 2, into 5 left, 100 over bumps, 4 left, very long, tightens, and tight 4 right, and keep left over 30, 4 right, keep in over crest, 30, 3 right over crest, opens very long, tightens, into 3 left, very long, opens middle of a crest, 50, 6 right of a jump maybe, 30,
drove pretty fluently, and that's why I was quite a lot ahead of the class leader. And after a few corners and all that, I got into grips with the car a little bit better. That was my only mistake right here. Throughout the whole stage I went a little bit faster than I needed to, and yeah, I've had quite a lot of fun in the snow. Sweden is a very good rally location, and I was very disappointed to see that it was part of a DLC. Like, imagine not having a snowy rally into your base game and adding it up as a DLC. It was a stupid move from Codemasters, but still, we're gonna end this stage with a 12-second gap very easily. That was probably the easiest scenario so far, and the most enjoyable one due to the snow. Like, that Sierra through the snow was a real handling mess when in low gears, but it was very enjoyable to try and hold the back end of the car. That was pretty much the objective. We even won the rally by 1.6 seconds. So, first place, and didn't have light mechanical damage, only light bodywork damage, not mechanical damage. So, that was a very good scenario once again. And onto the final one from this section, starting on the penultimate stage with a 2-minute deficit, finished within 1 minute of overall first place. And this has 2 stages, so facing some of his toughest competition yet, Colin fought valiantly to keep in touch with the rally leaders by expertly navigating the beautiful but tricky coastlines of New Zealand. So this is the first scenario, once again driving the Sierra as always. That actually has 2 stages in it, so it's also pretty long stages, 11.48 kilometers and 16 kilometers around New Zealand. Thank God I know the New Zealand stages quite well, so I feel like I could do this first try. Just telling you straight away, I couldn't. I missed out by something like it must have been 12 seconds, and that's because I made a lot of mistakes, and that's purely because this car is a quite tough car to drive. The rear-wheel drive cars in general are quite tough to drive, because if you overdrive them, they're just gonna spin. They're not gonna be like, okay, you overdrive me, I'm cool with that. It's not like a front-wheel drive where you can actually brake later, you can go on the throttle a little bit earlier. They're more safe. These rear-wheel drive cars are much tougher to drive, and anyone wondering why I'm so much faster than the class leader, it's purely because the objective wants me to be 1 minute, wants me to have a 1 minute deficit from the class leader at the end of the rally, so they made the class leader a little bit slower than the overall competition, so that I'm gonna be able to achieve the objective. In general, I was driving pretty well. That first stage didn't go with any mistakes at all, So I was just gaining and gaining and gaining more time. I was already on 37 seconds. I was like, okay, we've got the other half of the stage now. Could we gain another 37 seconds? We could almost achieve like the objective already from the first stage. That was my initial target. After seeing that on the first try, I could actually do that. But purely down to my mistakes, I couldn't do that.
And keep left into 1 right long. Opens, and tightens. Into turn 1 right tightens. Keep left over 40.
Slightly hit the back end of the car there. I don't even know where I hit the back end of the car there. But that guy, Strom, if I pronounce it correctly, the Swedish guy, is the one that we need to have a 1 minute gap from. And currently we're on 54 seconds, so this could actually end up being a successful objective already from the first stage on 90 difficulty. Can you imagine that? Imagine how good this stage is if we achieve that already. Final left-hander now, easy through the finish line. A 1 minute 2 second gap. We've already made it. That's incredible. Incredible scenes here, and I wasn't expecting that at all. I was expecting to be quite a lot faster, but to make it onto 1 minute and 2 seconds, that's already objective done. So into the stage results, as you can see, a 2 second gap from Storm. We have actually made it, and now we're already below the 1 minute gap by 12 seconds. So I shouldn't really worry about that. I just need to be ahead of Storm by 8 seconds. Do not lose 8 seconds from that guy onto that stage. And on that stage there's no class leader, so you're all alone, not knowing where the actual heck you are compared to the competition, because you're the first one out on this stage. So pretty stressful for some. I feel like it's pretty good for me. I don't really want to know where the rest of the drivers are, but apparently didn't prove my point was proven wrong, because I've made plenty of mistakes on this one.
Jump into 4 right. Slow 30, turn cut 2 right. Opens 250. Back middle of a narrow crest. 80. 4 left, don't cut. Slow 50, turn 1 right. Opens 70.
That was one of my first mistakes, just overhit the brakes there. But we didn't really lose a lot of time there, so I don't really count that as a mistake. But later on, that's where the mistake started. I went flat out through there, and I completely mistaken that corner there. I thought I had a right-hander, and it was a left-hander. That's why I turned. I literally turned my steering wheel right. I was like, oh shit! And then I see that there's no space on the right-hand side, and I completely turned into the left-hand side. Then this happens. I just went under the grass just slightly, and the car just went off. And that's the reason I'm telling you, these rear-wheel drive cars are so easy to spin. You need to be very careful. And I think there's one more coming up. Yeah, there's one more coming up, I'm telling you. That's the other one. That also came out of nowhere. At that point I was like, what the actual heck am I doing? I might actually lose this objective after such a very good first stage. And it also came from mistakes that were like, there was no chance I would make those mistakes if I had a clear head. Like, I crashed on a slight cliff, and I didn't even know, like, I thought I had space, so I went full throttle there. And out of nowhere I crashed onto the cliff, I lose the back end and all that. So as I was coming to the end of the stage, I was hoping that those mistakes are not going to cost me the whole event, because then I would have to do the whole scenario again. Which is not a bad thing, you know. I'm actually really enjoying those scenarios at the time. But of course the finish line, 10:18.5. I'd like to see where this time is going to put me compared to Strom. Let's see. And Strom is actually going to be 5 seconds slower into that stage. Despite those mistakes, I was pretty fast probably into the rest of the stage. And that is going to have a 52-second gap from Strom overly. And thank God we've actually made that, because that was a very tiring event. It was a very enjoyable event at the same time. New Zealand in this car is a very good combination so far. And yeah, I've also achieved achievement unlocked, nice, on the Steam. And that was the first section, fully completed. And I could have ended the video there and leave you with the rising star coming on to the next one, but I was a little bit greedy and I really wanted to play the next part because it was so far very enjoyable. I'm gonna say a big war, but so far these scenarios have really made me love DiRT 2.0 again. So on to the next one, 1991 to 1994, Rising Star, and I can already see that brand new Subaru Legacy on the cover. Let's go.
In 1991, Colin took control of the Subaru Legacy RS, a car that would showcase what he was capable of on the world stage. During this time, he began to demonstrate not only his raw speed and ability, but his will to win at any cost. In 1994, Subaru ran the all-new Impreza, and despite a shaky start to the season, Colin was able to show the relentless determination that would go on to define his career and lay the foundations for big things to come.
So this is the next sector of those scenarios. This actually includes 11 scenarios, and most of them have multiple stages, more than one single stage. But as for the first one, with heavy damage to the bodywork and wheel geometry of your car, finish the final stage without suffering terminal damage. So the first impression you're going to be getting from the new car on this game, the Subaru Legacy RS, is going to be a pretty terrible one. That's purely because you're going to have a damaged car around Wales. But still, the objective is pretty easy. Finish the final stage without suffering terminal damage. So just don't crash and just finish the stage, whatever the result. As for the historic info for this event, Colin was unable to finish this Welsh Rally in 1991 due to leaving the road. Colin was not the only driver to fall foul of this tricking condition, so probably tricking conditions in Wales didn't let him finish with that Subaru Legacy RS, and that's what I want to see. Four-wheel drive. Finally, we're gonna have a good car with four-wheel drive. Obviously, that's not gonna be as fun, I guess, but it seems like it's gonna be more stable and it's gonna let me express my driving feelings a little bit easier. As for the power, it's got 300 brake horsepower, 10 horsepower less than the Ford Sierra Cosworth. I was not expecting that, to be honest. But I'm really interested to see how this car handles, even though it's probably damaged. The wheel geometry damage is not going to help me realize, learn the handling of this car very well. So that's why I'm going to be doing another scenario after this one. I know it's going to be a very long video. I hope you enjoy it. I know you've been wanting longer videos, so let's just see how this car feels. Don't forget that wheel geometry damage is not going to let me do very well around this. So objective is not to crash very badly. I can already feel the car doesn't want to turn very much.
And 4 left long through gate, tightness 2, immediate turn, open hairpin right.
Oh god, it doesn't want to turn at all. Especially on the slow corners. Look at this. I'm literally limping there. Oh god. This is terrible. Oh god.
6 left of a crest, 60, crest and slow, keep left of a 30, 2 right narrow camber, and 6 left, 30 of a jump, into 2 left tightens, and 1 right of a crest, opens 50, keep left, into 6 right of a crest, and 5 left of a crest camber, to keep right of a crest.
Oh, that was a tough one. Thank God we saved it there. Could have gone straight onto the forest and crashed the car.
Through posts, opens 90.
Oh come on, can you just turn? Look at this.
5 left, don't cut. To jump, 60. Flat middle of a big jump, very long, tightens 3 of a dip. Opens 6 long of a crest, into 1 left. 50 of a crest.
Okay, it's not gonna turn, it's not gonna turn.
6 left
Brilliant.
of a crest, 40.
Literally a bump is gonna help turn this car. How badly damaged is the wheel geometry? I'm wondering.
6 left of a crest and bump, 80. Jump, 40. Crest and 4 right. Opens 60. Flat left of a
I'm
jump.
obviously gonna be finishing last.
3 right tightens narrow.
That's gonna be a huge gap from the lead. A 56.4 second gap. That was pretty embarrassing, but the car is just not drivable, so I can't tell you if the car is good or anything. It's terrible at the moment. Like that wheel geometry, I wasn't expecting it to be so tough, but at the end of the day, all we need to do was finish this rally. Oh, 8th position also, so that didn't really damage the result. Yeah, that was a bad, heavy damaged wheel geometry, slightly damaged suspension, and something else there, which I didn't really know what it was, but objective achieved. Now, on to this one. Finish first to take the overall victory on the final stage of this event. Colin took a dominant victory at the Scottish Rally 1991, finishing more than a minute ahead of his nearest rival. So, I'm only doing this because it was so amazing and I had to include this in. I want to actually check out the Subaru Legacy RS on normal conditions, where the car is fully repaired, and I want to get a feeling of how the car is. So, Scotland, new rally location, a new car.
Starts 6 left, opens extra long, good luck.
And the objective was to win. This is the first actual victory probably Colin took in his home country. I'm just gonna say, I spent around 40 minutes trying to do this. I'm not even joking. Look how fast this stage is. The gravel was wet, which made things even harder. Completely miscalled that. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. That was a very late call. And I've made plenty of mistakes before I've actually reached to the point where I was like, please, can we just do this? I've spent so much time in this event. Don't take me wrong, the car feels nice and everything. Like, it's a pretty good car. All-wheel drive, pretty fast. It turns pretty well. It has grip and everything. I was actually enjoying the car. I was learning it more and more. I was learning the limits of the car. At the same time, I was learning the stage. I was trying to learn every single secret that this stage has to offer. I've got to tell you, what you're witnessing right now is probably one of my best stages ever. But please, there's gonna be something very unrealistic coming into this stage. You're gonna see what it is. But for the time being, I'm gonna let you enjoy the footage.
100. Deceptive, 4 left long of a crest tightens, 50. Right tightens, into 5 left, caution tightens, narrow short 3 right. And 6 left, very long, tightens 3 long. 40, slow 3 right, very long, tightens ditch out. And slowing 4 right.
And here comes my first mistake, a big roll. Didn't cost me a lot of time because I rolled the car back, not even a penalty, didn't even have a lot of damage. That's not the unrealistic thing that I want to tell you. Watch out for that dip that corner has. Don't run wide because otherwise the car is going to flip, and I flipped it a lot of times there. That's why I'm telling you that. This time I flipped it, but we still made it. This is still the successful try that you're seeing right now. That was not the surprising thing. I was having a very good stage so far. I had 2 green sectors, and probably I'm going to be having a 3rd one also. There's something else that is coming up, and you're going to be wondering, how the heck did you survive this? You're going to see very soon.
Extra long, and 3 left long, tightens, opens over small crest. 60.
A lot of fun to see there.
2 right, opens long.
Only bodywork damage though for the time being.
Left long.
Nothing mechanical.
6 left. And long crest and sudden 4 left. And 3 right. Slow in 80. 4 left long. 40. Turn early. 1 left tightens. 90. Keep middle of a crest. And stay middle of a 60. To keep middle of a jump. 60. Left tightens 3. Extra long. 70. Small crest into 3 right tightens. 70. 34 right of a crest. 110 downhill. Slow in 3 right long. Tightens past junction. 70. 6 right of a long crest tightens. 100. Past logs. 6 left. Extra long of a crest.
It's a very flat out part of the stage, and then come the huge brakes for a second right-hander. We're 1/10 ahead of the class leader. This is very close still. We have to go very flat out there. This is flat out. This is the Colin McRae spirit in me. Flat out through those corners. Turn right and then left. As we're approaching the final few sectors of this stage. This is probably the most fun I've had so far. We're off there! And that's where I thought I would have terminal damage. That's where I thought the whole thing was done and I had to redo this again. So far the stage was perfect and I completely crossed into that tree. I was a bit lost for the moment. I was trying to search for mechanical damage, for engine damage, for everything. But the car had nothing. The car was still running perfectly fine and I didn't even lose a lot of time to the class leader. I didn't lose time, I gained time like that. I'm not telling you to take that corner like that. I'm not telling you to go into the tree straight away, because I might have been lucky. You might actually get terminal damage for that. I'm not even joking. Like, that was a terminal damage accident. I don't even know how I got away with that. But even with that mistake on 90 damage, I still made it. And that's what makes me think this was one of my best stages on DiRT 2.0 ever. Like, look at those flat out sections right here. I think this is what gave me the win, if I'm being blatantly honest.
The flat left, 160. Caution, jump into shots. 3 left, don't cut. 50. 4 left.
That's the jump there. You have to go over the rock onto this one. Now we're 8/10 faster as we're approaching the final sector, which is a slow section. Traditionally, I'm not doing well in those sections, but across the finish line, it was a 1.2 second gap at the end of the day. We even gained time on the final sector. But yeah, with 2 major mistakes, we still made it. And the car is not happy, but I'm happy for making it, because that was probably one of the most intense stages of my life. And I know I've made a video back then saying this is immersive for WRC8 and this is why WRC8 is better than the DiRT 2.0. Well, let me tell you, this was very immersive, this was very intense, this was very fun. And this is probably one of the reasons on gravel the DiRT 2.0 game is better than the WRC8. But as you can see, we won only by 8/10 of a second. We've made it first position here in Scotland 1991 scenario with Colin McRae. Subaru Legacy RS, fantastic car. Didn't really find a lot of differences with the Subaru Impreza, which was a little bit disappointing. Would like them to differ in handling and all that, but we're gonna probably check the differences later onto this scenario mode. But I'm gonna end this video now. I know it's been a very long video, but I just couldn't leave those stages out of the video. So this scenario mode is actually very, very enjoyable for the time being. This is episode 1. I'm planning to turn this into a series, so if you really wanna help me continue this series and not just post WRC8 and Sebastian Loeb Rally Evolution, please leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. We're very close to that 1K, and it's probably going to be one of the most important moments for the time being on my YouTube channel. A big milestone, the 1K. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun this time around DiRT 2.0. That was it for today, guys. If you enjoyed, smash the like button, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. The next video is probably gonna be Gran Turismo Sport, because I've got plenty of content on that game. I've had like a 10-hour recording session on that, and I've got some pretty cool content for you guys. So yeah, until then, I'm gonna catch you later. Goodbye.